What if the god of war wasn't a hero? What if he was war itself, raw, brutal, and hated even by the gods? Welcome to my channel. It's time for 5 blood-stained truths about Ares, god of war. And remember, this is just a myth. Don't be a hero, be a goat. He wasn't a hero. But before we dive into that, let's talk about today's sponsor, NordVPN. In Greek mythology, Ares didn't care about justice or righteousness. He loved nothing more than the thrill of battle, the taste of victory, and the beautiful carnage left in his wake. Ares was the embodiment of war, bloodshed, and courage, not necessarily bravery. To him, fighting was a game and one he played without mercy. While heroes like Achilles fought for honor, glory, or to defend the innocent, Ares reveled in destruction, showing no preference between good and evil. For Ares, there were only worthy opponents and pathetic prey. The battlefield was his playground, and the screams of dying men his symphony of delight. His actions often caused immense suffering and death on an unnecessary scale, turning entire cities into graveyards and leaving families torn apart. So who really was Ares? A monster pretending to be a god? A god pretending to be a monster? You decide. And if you want to explore more about ancient myths and legends, then you need to visit our site. We've got all kinds of amazing stories from around the world, all written by independent creators just like me. Plus, if you sign up with our link, you get a free trial. It's risk-free, and you can help support us while you're at it. So click that link and start your adventure today. Thank you. Now let's continue with the video. He thrived in chaos, not honor. Most gods preferred to intervene in human affairs subtly, perhaps nudging a hero in the right direction or inspiring a leader with divine favor. But Ares took a different approach. He wanted to be front and center, reveling in the panic and turmoil he created. Picture this: Ares swooping down onto a battlefield, not to offer guidance or assistance, but to inject pure pandemonium. He delighted in sending chills down soldiers' spines, turning their bravest moments into paralyzed fear. With Ares breathing down their necks, their most valiant charges became desperate scrambles for survival. And when they faltered, Ares would jeer, urging them on, inflating their terror. He found joy in making cowards of the courageous, twisting their desires for glory into a primal need for self-preservation. Why? Because in the maelstrom of chaos, in the heart of the terrified soldier, Ares found his greatest high. He was despised by Zeus, his own father. Despite being the son of the almighty Zeus, Ares was never treated with the same reverence or respect. In fact, his presence was generally met with annoyance and his actions often drew scorn. You see, Zeus expected his children to embody their godly domains in the best possible light. Athena represented wisdom and strategy. Apollo brought music and healing. But Ares, well, he was a constant embarrassment. His battles were messy, his tactics underhanded, and his disregard for life made Zeus shudder. Even on Olympus, Ares was a problem. Imagine hosting a grand feast with all the gods and then having Ares barge in, all excited about some new conflict he started. Talk about a party pooper. He wasn't invited because his presence would ruin the harmony. That's why you'd often find Zeus sighing heavily, running a hand through his beard, muttering about Ares and the headache he was. At times, Zeus wished he could disown Ares, blaming Hera for giving birth to such a monster. And honestly, Hera felt the same way. Ares wasn't just disliked by the gods, he was an outcast. And the worst part, he knew it. He reveled in it. If the gods rejected him, so be it. He didn't need their approval. He had his mother's ferocious spirit and his grandmother Gaia's primal strength. And those were enough reasons for Ares to keep going. He had an affair with Aphrodite, bringing shame on Olympus. Now, you might be thinking, okay, big deal. Gods having affairs, it's all in a day's work, right? Well, not this one. Let me explain. You see, Ares and Aphrodite were considered the ultimate power couple, a match made in hell, not Olympus. They were impulsive, hot-headed, and utterly selfish. and their trysts were legendary, or infamous rather. But it wasn't just the scandalous nature of their romance that made it so infamous. It was how they conducted themselves, or rather, how they refused to conduct themselves. Ares and Aphrodite weren't discreet. Oh no, they thought they were doing something oh so bold. Love in the time of gods, how very daring. The rest of the Olympians, however, saw it as nothing short of shameless. To them, the trysts weren't romantic. They were crass. Their love wasn't sweet, it was sickening. And the worst part, Ares and Aphrodite didn't care. They flaunted their affair, practically rubbing it in the faces of the other Olympians, daring them to do something about it. But what could they do? The gods couldn't simply banish them. Ares was Zeus's son, and Aphrodite was the embodiment of love. Banishing them would disrupt the balance of power on Olympus. Besides, what would people on Earth think? A god and goddess shamed for having an affair. Unthinkable. So instead of punishing them, the Olympians did the next best thing. They gossiped. Every stolen kiss, every secret meeting was spread across Olympus faster than lightning. And Ares and Aphrodite, they kept on loving or lusting, whatever you prefer, right in the middle of the gossip storm. He was captured by two mortals and locked in a jar. Once upon a time, Ares made the colossal mistake of getting involved in a mortal war, and not just any war, mind you, but the Trojan War. And who did he side with? The Trojans, obviously the worst choice possible. On one side, the Trojans, known for their hospitality and culture. On the other, the Greeks, renowned for their strategic brilliance and military prowess. Ares thought he'd show the Greeks a lesson in futility. But boy, did he learn a lesson himself. The Greeks turned out to be no pushovers, and Ares soon found himself trapped in a web of Greek stratagems. Picture this. The Greeks concocting a plan so clever it defied even Athena's genius. They crafted a massive wooden horse, hollowed out inside, filled to the brim with armed soldiers. Then came the trick. As night fell, the soldiers emerged from the horse, snuck into the city, and by the next morning, Troy was in Greek hands. Ares, caught off guard, was taken prisoner and locked away in a jar. And who did this, you ask? Two mortals, the heroes Diomedes and Glaucus. Talk about a humbling experience for the god of war. Ares spent 5 years locked up, slowly losing his powers until the great hero, Hercules, came to rescue him. But even then, Ares returned to Olympus diminished and humiliated, forever bearing the shame of his mortal imprisonment. He represented war's horror, not its glory. While Ares enjoyed the chaos of battle, he didn't embody the heroic aspects of war. There was no noble cause, no fight for freedom, no stand against oppression. For Ares, war was about dominance, subjugation, and annihilation. And that's not something to celebrate. Instead of representing courage, strategy, or sacrifice, Ares embodied the brutality and trauma of conflict. His presence turned battles into massacres, victories into occupations, and peace into uneasy truces. It's a sobering thought that behind every war, behind every fallen soldier, there's a whisper of Ares's dark influence. So the next time you hear Ares's name, remember, this god wasn't about glory. He was about grit and grime, blood and bone, the raw, unvarnished truth of war. He was the grim reaper in a god's disguise. And with that chilling thought, we come to the end of this journey into the dark heart of Ares. Remember, this is just a myth. Don't be a hero, be a goat. And if you want more myths, legends, and tales, subscribe for more echoes of the past. Until next time, may your days be myth-filled and your enemies few.